G'day Bomber fans, that was one of the ugliest wins you will see, from a Bomber fan at least. From a neutral's perspective, it's one of the games of the year, but plenty to dislike about that game for us Bomber fans. Before I get into the preview, get your best on-ground votes in down below, 3-2-1 Brownlow style, Bomber players only, and stay tuned till the end of the video to hear a word from MANSCAPED. So Twilight footy on a Sunday at Marvel against the second worst team in the comp. You just know it's going to be a chaotic game of footy, an unnecessarily tight game of footy, but it didn't look that way early. We had things going our way in the first quarter. Lots was talked about the contested game, and they didn't show up early. We waltzed it out of the midfield. Zach Merritt was playing on easy difficulty. The guy brought his own footy to the contest, and North didn't think to shut him down. It was frankly all too easy for us early. The main issue was the fact we really struggled to maintain a solid defensive setup through all of our around the ground dominance. They only had the 8 inside 50s, but managed 3 goals from them. We were almost caught off guard, and it's why, despite having the play on our terms, we only led by 20 points. I was relaxed. I thought it was going to be an easy game of footy, but the second quarter was when the match really started. We were luckily given a head start, but North turned up, and a big reason for that is the big brain plays from North coach, or interim coach, Brett Ratton. He completely changed the midfield setup that was losing the game for them and brought the contest to us. They trailed at half-time by 2 points, but looked the much better team. They put a hard Liam Shields-shaped tag on Zach Merritt, nullified his impact, and they pulled out a forward to give an extra number at stoppages to give more oomph around the ball. So although we had a spare back, they often gained territory, something we would eventually change later in the game. But the annoying thing for us is that we were on the back foot, we were second to the pill, and we didn't take our chances, not just in front of the sticks, but entering our 50. We were so poor going in our zone, we really started to give Ben Mackay a bit more leverage come his contract negotiation. And that third quarter, that's when I thought it was game over. If I'm being honest, they got out to a 3-goal lead. I was ready to start filming a round review with a few too many swear words, but to our credit, we fought back. We understood that the game was slipping, and we lifted to another gear, one we really should have been in the first place. The last quarter was a neutral's dream. Lead changes, goals, pressure footy. It was fun to watch if you weren't an Essendon fan. I would say every single footy fan in the country enjoyed this game, bar us. North were great, they were gutsy, we were not. And if I'm being honest, we didn't deserve to win the game. In the end, it was that extra year or two of maturity that won us the match. Acts from Jake Stringer, Andrew Phillips, Sam Draper, Zach Merritt. Our older players knew what to do in high pressure situations. North were just far too young in the areas that mattered, unfortunately for them. They were gutsy, but not mature enough to get the job done when they deserved to. The game was on the line, the scores were level, and our super sub Massimo D'Ambrosio iced it. He came on and won the match for us with a lethal snap from about 35 or 40 out. He etches himself into footy folklore for about 2 days. This was a fun round ender, but bloody hell was prime time bottom level team footy. Not saying we are a bottom team, but we sure as hell played like one on Sunday. So how did we win this game of footy? We got off to a good start. This is what I said in my preview: end the game as soon as you can, really. Get on top early. Sure, we got complacent as things went along, but that 20-point margin to start proved to be worth its weight in gold. In close games, you have to capitalize on momentum swings, which we did early. And we were simply more mature despite being the younger team on the day. They really surged off the back of young bull-like footy. They were hot and playing with fire and ferocity you would only find in first or second year players. We were smarter with our slightly older heads in the areas that mattered more. In defense, we often played an uncontested marking brand of footy like we have seen in recent weeks, picking up territory with short 15-meter kicks until we find an option deep, and it's why we scored as much as we did. We also had the better team, not on the day, just list-wise. We had better players that, even when playing poorly, could step up at the right moments, and although it's a disappointing game for us, it's really pleasing to see us win in ugly games we shouldn't. That is the sign of a good footy side, when they get over the line despite playing worse. So you can be frustrated and angry with a poor showing. I know I am, but just be happy knowing we are good enough to win even at our worst. I'm obviously quite annoyed, and you may be asking why I am annoyed, because we won the game, but we were very poor as a side, and it stemmed from complacency. I thought that first quarter was business as usual. It looked easy, and we clearly recognised that and put our foot on the brake a bit after the first break and started to think about next week. We were playing pretty football. They were like the good old shin boners of old, and we were the Harlem Globetrotters. We simply did not have any answers for Ben Mackay's dominance. We were so putrid with our entries and seemed to almost look for him at times, at our worst at least. Wiedemann had no impact whatsoever. It is lucky that Langford and co were up and about because they looked the better team defensively. Speaking of defence, that has to be our worst performance as a defence of the year. We have been so solid this year, but they were almost scoring from every second inside 50. They were scoring far too much. We really do love to allow teams territory to attack on the way back. It's worked in the past, but it almost killed us this round because we had players not winning one-on-one contests. A very frightening thing to think about as we line up against Curnow and Harry Mackay next Sunday. They had players go down early, important players like Simpkin and Greenwood, but we let some of their bigger players get on top, Larkey, Zerha and Coleman Jones. The three of them looked like prime Travis Cloak combined, the way they clunked contested marks and hit the scoreboard. They had 8 goals between them, keeping our defense on their toes. At our best, we were unstoppable from stoppages. We really do love to have those wide frontal punches to the advantage of Stringer, but when they were onto this, we had nothing. Our clearances had nothing behind them. We were found out and had no response. That is something we need to fix as we go along. And our damage and dare from stoppages didn't just decrease. Our ability to win them at all went away after quarter time. We only had 6 centre bounce clearances in the final 3 quarters, and overall, we lost the clearance count despite leading at 16-9 at the first break. It is really worrying, but this was semi-expected. That is North's strength, their contested ball winning ability. I think our inability to defend them, though, was a bit too much from my point of view. In the end, it was a game we really should have won by more. No disrespect to North. They were terrific and gutsy and have been for about a month since Ratton took over, but these are the opportunities for us to make that percentage column a win of sorts. We want to have our percentage around the 115 mark if we want finals footy, in my opinion. But like I've touched on, this is a game that was won when it shouldn't have been. We were not good enough to win that game, but we did. Sure, it helps when you play a pretty poor opponent, but you got to be happy with the boys for churning out wins when they don't deserve to. That is, like I said earlier, the sign of a good team. I should, before I get into my votes, talk negatives, individually at least. Dylan Shield seemed a bit underdone, didn't really do too much. Sam Wiedemann had a really tough game. He is counting down the days until Wright is back to relieve some pressure, and I thought BZT was soundly beaten. He lost 3 1-on-1 contests, which is a lot in one match. But onto the votes. 1 to Nick Martin. He was fantastic on the wing. 2 goals, 3 assists. Jordan Ridley gets 2. He had 5 intercept marks, 3 spoils, and 10 interceptions. But Zach Merritt gets all 3. He was unreal. That first quarter was a training drill, but I thought he played a really selfless role after, while still having an impact going forward. He was great. But you guys get your votes in down below. You might have some different to mine. Some unlucky not to feature. Jai Caldwell was terrific. Carl Langford was at his consistent best. I thought Matt Guelphy was unreal. That was an awesome pressure-based game. Perkins and Goblin were up and about, but a special mention to Jake Stringer. He has completely changed his role at the club, and it pays off not from a highlights point of view like we saw in 2018 and 2019, but for the team. In both these close games, he was involved in the defining moments, setting up Durham in the square on Dreamtime and the smother and tackle to set up Massimo's goal on Sunday in yesterday's game. He is playing team-first footy, and it's pleasing to see. But that is the end of the video. Like, subscribe, and a quick word from Manscaped. Bomber fans, I know you've been thinking about Manscaped, I can tell, so why not head over to manscaped.com, buy whatever body grooming gadgets you want, and enter the discount code EverythingEssendon20 to save 20% off, plus free shipping. Cheers, Dons fans.